and the experience the woodworking, all that woodworking has to offer in our workshop. So the limited movement has definitely affected that part of the business. But also because we cannot operate, because we do not fall under the essential services. So the other portion of our business is also greatly affected. Our suppliers are not allowed to operate. Neither can we. So we're just surviving. So let me just maybe readjust my assessment. Instead of it being a 7 after going through with you, it may be closer to 9. You know how we are greatly affected, but we are surviving.
I hear you. You know, I think I've been because I do a bit of advisory work for some of the companies out there. You know, even if they are deemed as essential service, it is not like they're getting the permit to operate.
Yes.
So it's. I mean, if Louis Vuitton can be essential service, can you imagine? The heart and soul of our country, the economy, is actually the small and medium enterprises.
Yes.
And to a greater extent, the cottage industries as well. You know, we cannot discredit the cottage industries in Malaysia. And I think it is just about getting the priorities straight in order to get the economy moving. So, where is your outfit like?
Well, our workshops in Ara Damansara. So yeah, it's like in Petaling Jaya. So even though we've got close proximity to the major communities around us, for what we offer. But of course, with the inter-district travel and and of course the restrictions on holding workshops or so-called seminars, right? So that really hinders what we wanted to do and what we've been doing. So
do you consider yourself a social enterprise then?
No, we're not really a social enterprise. We are basically a business-driven venture,
right?
Okay. Where we conduct workshops. But we do our share of CSR on the side, but we do not deem ourselves as a social enterprise. We are a business. We are a business-driven venture.
So you just do that as a CSR, so to speak.
Yeah, CSR will be basically what we do when we are able to commit ourselves to any of the objectives or CSR objectives that we have.
That's brilliant. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to greet Shafiq and Johann from the FowlBoys. Hi, Shafiq and Jo.
Hello, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
No worries.
Hi, Ashwin here is our cloud advisor. So yeah, just a little bit of introduction. We are going to start at 2:05 because we're giving way for our participants to join the meeting. So yeah, we can have a little chit chat right now.
All right, cool.
All right.
How are you guys doing? How's the FowlBoys business doing?
It's going pretty all right. Thankfully, we are still keeping the ship going, I think. It's pretty easy, you know. It is a crazy time for everybody. So we're just kind of doing what we need to do. Yeah,
How
all
are you guys operating? Are you guys operating off a shop or a kitchen?
We are operating out of a cloud kitchen right now.
A cloud kitchen.
That's right.
Okay, all right. So, but you're still very, very, very much active on like Grab food and all that, right?
Yeah, we are mainly a delivery and takeaway based eatery, I guess. Yeah.
I see what you all have to offer, but unfortunately, I've been meat free for a year and a half, so I've not really gotten the chance to really try what you guys have. Looks delicious. But my sister-in-law is a fan of your burgers, your chicken burgers.
Nice. Well, Adi, actually, speaking of Adi, we're actually working on a plant-based option.
Yes, please do. Please do.
It definitely won't compare to the real thing, but you know, at least there's an option there.
No, I've tried my fair share of plant-based burgers here and there. They're all using the beef alternate, right? So right. They're quite decent. But my personal favorite is what's recently been introduced by Nestle under Harvest Gourmet.
Yes, Harvest Gourmet. Okay.
So their burger patties, so-called burger patties, are quite nice. It's still
Right.
juicy and but it doesn't break apart like how it is when it comes to like really meat
Right,
patties.
right.
Yeah, but it's a close alternative.
It's a good substitute, lah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Whenever I feel like, whenever I see when you guys come up on Instagram, right, I instantly go look for a plant-based burger, and I always I always have stock at home. So yeah. Because for whatever it is, right, you guys will always fall out in my feed in Instagram. So
Wow,
yeah,
that's good to know. At least something's working there.
Yeah. So kudos. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate the kind words.
Mm.
How's
So Johann
everybody
and
else going?
Shafiq, the same question I asked Adi earlier. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of an impact has the current MCO had on your business? 1 being minimal, 10 being extreme.
I would say 10 actually.
Yeah.
But extreme in a sense that I mean the lockdown sucks, right? I mean a lot of people are worse off from it, but being a delivery business, we actually do better during the lockdown. So that's the reality of it, lah. Mm.
Sorry, can I just ask? Have you guys always been a delivery business, or do you have a physical presence?
We started in my apartment during the first lockdown, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's how this whole thing started. Yeah, me and Joe were doing basic R&D in my apartment. He was staying with me for a couple of months. We were planning to do pop-ups in March, and then when March came, the lockdown announcement came, and we were like, "Screw it, let's wing it and just start it from our apartment."
Oh, yeah. That's the way to do it, right? When an obstacle suddenly appears in your path, like, you just have to just go with it, right?
Correct. You just have to adapt and
they have to be fluid with what you want to do, and
absolutely.
And I assume that it's just you and basically Shafiq, you and Johann, doing it, just the two of you, right? So like
at the very beginning,
from the very beginning, yes. But as we scaled up, the following weeks and months, we had to have like Joe's sister was our first official staff hire, and then we got 1 or 2 more friends to come in. Based on the pre-orders, on the intensity of volume.
Yeah, but in terms of decision making, right, it is still just the two of you, right? So it's very fluid. So any obstacle that comes your way, it's just, hey, how are we gonna do this? What should we do? Pop, and your decisions made, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think that one approach that I think Shaq and I really had a lot, which was we took our business conversations really casually as well.
Yes.
So
same here. Myself and my wife. It's a 2-man show for the two of us. It's been like that since the start. So it's been very fluid. So we have casual conversations about business, and then decisions are made. Then we just execute. Not all the time.
Small businesses are not supposed to have red tape.
No, they're not supposed to. Right?
Yeah, we can't afford red tape.
We can't afford red tape. We need quick turnaround times. We really need to be on our toes, right? On our feet and just roll with it. Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Apologies. Sorry to interrupt, but we have our event. It was a very interesting discussion you guys have right now, but we have a lot of questions to ask you guys throughout this event. All right. So welcome everyone. I am Aizol. You can call me Zol. I am the president of IUMW Finance Club. And it is an honor for me to invite you guys to the Real Talk on Financing and SME 2.0 with the FowlBoys and also the Ida.
Thank you for having us.
Before we start with the speakers, I would like to invite our club advisor, Ashwin, for an opening speech.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Aizol. And a special invitation to our guests, our speakers today. Thank you for making time on a weekend to join us. It is definitely an honor to have you share your experiences, the good and bad, I hope, to give a sense of reality to all aspiring entrepreneurs who are viewing this current program. Of course, the current pandemic has not been kind to any one of our businesses. It has been quite impactful negatively for the most of us. But being an entrepreneur is all about overcoming those problems, right? When life throws you that, you have a whole array of things you can do with lemon. And that is what makes an entrepreneur, right? So that I would not want to take too much time, and I would like to hear from both the businesses or here to showcase how they have overcome their obstacles, how their businesses grew, how it made living for the people that they are today. Because as an entrepreneur myself, I believe the experiences in your business reshape every step of the way. You know, you always start with one thought, but every single experience in your life, and eventually at the end of the journey, I mean, the journey never ends really, but at some point of the journey, when you turn and look at yourself in the mirror, you realize that you have a point where you probably a person that you can't recognize anymore, in a good way, negative. So without further ado, I would like to invite the speakers to take the floor. Of course, on the invitation of the President. Mr. President, who's yours?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So without further ado, I would first like to invite Joe and Shaq from the FowlBoys to give a little bit of introduction on what their business has to offer. Joe and Shaq, the floor is yours.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry, the audio is a bit laggy, just so you guys know. So apologies in advance if I kind of miss a beat.
No, you're clear here.
Yeah. So FowlBoys, we are essentially a buttermilk fried chicken joint. You know, we specialize in buttermilk fried chicken. We serve, as you can see, fried chicken burgers, and we are a brand that honestly just came from two friends that are foodies first and foremost. It's like we really enjoy food and exploring food. So that's how we came together in this. A little background on how this came to be was, it was actually through a family trip for me in Australia, and having a chicken sandwich over there, and it reminded me of like the sandwiches I would have during my uni days back in the States. And in that moment, I was like, oh wait, why don't we have more of this in KL? You know, that was just kind of playing in my head, and we came up with this. And so this is a real brief background of how it came to be and what we do. So yeah.
All right, so thank you, Joe. All right, so for those who, so for everyone, here is their social media links and also their outlet location. I believe your outlet is at Kitchen Connect, right? Mont Kiara.
That's right. Yeah, Kitchen Connect in Plaza Mont Kiara.
All right, so make sure to follow their Instagram and maybe order some for dinner. Yeah, I would very much like to order that.
I wish I could. I really wish I could.
All right, so thank you, Joe and Shaq. All right, so next we have Adi from Adi and Ida. All right, so Adi, would you like to introduce us your business?
Hi, I'm Adi. So I am one half of Adi Ida. My partner is my wife, Ida, hence the name of our brand, Adi Ida. Just a quick random fact. If you see our name, it goes Adi Ida both ways. It's a palindrome. So if you read left to right and right to left, it is still Adi Ida. So that was the premise of how everything is when it comes to how we go about doing what we do as partners, and of course as life partners as well. So we are carpenters first and foremost. So we do a lot of custom wooden furnitures, and also then that eventually evolved to wanting to share our experiences and the skills that we have garnered in our journey, setting up Adi Ida and the journey of Adi Ida. So we started our woodworking workshops. We started with first providing workshops for kids, and we still do until the pandemic started. We were in school handling the after school programs for school kids. But in 2019, we introduced Malaysia's first women's only woodworking workshops. And we have been doing it ever since. Of course, there has been a lot of breaks in between because of the MCO and the different variations of the MCO. But to our last class, which was just before the MCO, I think earlier this year, we have had close to maybe around 300 women that have come and joined us in our workshops. So that is what we've been doing ever since. Apart from, of course, the custom furnitures, we've also got our own products that we offer through our social media, which is basically just our Instagram. So that's that. How it came about was that 6-7 years ago, Ida and I met when we were both in this NGO building homes for the Orang Asli. So we were both volunteers for that. I was with them for 2.5 years, and from there, then we just started dabbling into woodworking. We are self-trained and self-taught woodworkers. So there is no formal training that we've had in relations to woodworking. So it was basically more about an interest that sparked our journey, which slowly and grew strength to strength and became a passion, and now it is our career, so to speak. So that's how it started. It started with small projects for homes, small projects for our families, friends, asking for, hey, could you build me a small side table? I need a working desk. It started with that, and then it slowly grew to it becoming a business, and we eventually made it so. And it's been 6 years since. Yeah.
All right. So that's great. You guys met during a NGO event. That's very romantic.
Thank you.
All right, so everyone, this is their social media and also their outlet location. Your outlet is at Ara Damansara, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, all right. So,
but it's not open for public. It's only where we have our workshop and also where we conduct our workshops. We do not have a walk-in store.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Thank you, Adi. All right, so moving on, we will have a Q&A session. All right, so I will pass on the floor to my teammate, Michelle. Michelle, you may take over.
Hi, thank you guys for the introduction. Welcome and hello to our speakers. Thank you for joining us today. So,
hi, Michelle.
Hi, yeah, we finally meet face to face.
Yes, finally.
Finally. So we have prepared a set of questions for both FowlBoys and Adi Aida to allow our attendees to gain some insight on how the business was founded and managed to this day. If everyone's ready, let us begin with our first introduction of the business, whereby we would like to know, why did you decide to become a business owner and when did you start your business? I know you guys gave some insight, but maybe you can go into a little bit. Like what inspired the thought of actually making it into a business from passion-wise, those kind of stuff. Maybe Adi can can start first.
Okay. All right. Okay, if I may. How it started was, of course, prior to my engagement with the NGO, I was in advertising. So then that was for 5 years, and then I immersed myself in the NGO for a further 2.5 years before discovering the interest in woodworking. Right. So to be honest, it was not something that we did detailed market study on all this. It was really just going out on a whim. It was a leap of faith for myself and my wife. We got our first. We started dabbling into woodworking. We taught ourselves the fundamentals of woodworking, and then we slowly developed our skill set that's required to I would say succeed in woodworking. And then from there, we got on a few commission jobs that basically increased our. And it got to a point where we thought that yes, I think this is something that we can very well get into. And I thought that, and we just decided, yes, let's just do it. So it's not really a textbook business 101. Where you do your market study, understanding where you want to go. It was really more about moving on our passion and what we wanted to do then and just putting everything in it and just get started with it. So that's how it started. And at that moment, we have never looked back, and we've been going strong ever since 6 years now, thankfully.
That takes a lot of courage for both of you to leave your current jobs and like not only just dwelling what used to be a passion project, but actually making something out of it. It's very inspiring.
Thank
Moving
you.
on, can we hear from FowlBoys?
So for Shaq and I, so we actually met through our previous kind of ventures that we were working on. Shaq was in retail, fashion retail, and I was in the nightlife, or rather the events industry. And so through that, I guess the acquaintance and the overlap of industries, and when we became friends, I kind of, like for me, it's always about taste. It's always about your taste in things, and I liked Shaq's taste in things generally. And as our friendship developed, the one thing that we realized that we have in common a lot was food. We're always talking about good food. And so when I came back from my trip to Melbourne and Sydney that I mentioned earlier with my family, I pitched the idea to Shaq, and he was like, "Oh, okay, this sounds kind of interesting, kind of cool." And I think it was like from the day I pitched it to him, if I'm not wrong, it was like about maybe a month later, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you kind of come over to the apartment and cook some burgers? Let's see what this looks like." So we did, and after about 3 months of R&D, we kicked it off as a home business. And fun fact is that FowlBoys' first day of business is the 18th of March 2020, which is the first day of lockdown.
The day after they announced the first MCO.
Exactly. Right. So right after they announced it, we're like, okay, never mind, let's just go. And we launched FowlBoys as a home-based delivery-only business. And we're now about almost a year and a half in. And we have managed to scale up and move into a cloud kitchen location in Mount Kiara, and hopefully more in the near future. Yeah.
Yes.
So is it fair to say that both of you kind of self-taught your way for like all the menu items and everything? Since
100%.
Absolutely.
So that is a very, very good taste bud. It's because your burgers are amazing.
Thank you.
Literally.
So Shaq and I, neither one of us are culinarily trained in any way. I love to cook. Personally, like I love to cook a lot. So that's how it happened. Was he was like, okay, since you say let's do a little burger thing, like step in the kitchen and show me what you got. That's kind of like literally what happened in the kitchen, you know. And I stepped in and we cooked some food, and of course, I trusted Shaq's palate a lot from, like I said, our friendship, talking about food and all these things, and his taste in food in general. And I think when in the beginning of the business, when we were deciding whether to launch or not, of course we had sent it to family and friends to get some feedback and whatnot. But even after getting the feedback we got, in all honesty, it was more of a, hey, I think we got a good product and we really believe in what we're doing. So let's just really give it a shot. And plus, we're in lockdown. It's not like we have anything better to do. So that's kind of how it just sparked the whole thing. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that's the whole thing about it. It's like, even though you don't have like professional training or like, you know, any before that experience and whatnot, but like really just experimenting can bring you to a whole new level in life.
Yes,
be it when it comes to like being an entrepreneur or like just life skills. They do a lot for a person. And clearly you work for Adi, Johann, and Shaq. So
yes, and my wife is from a law background, so you can really see the jump,
from
right?
what you guys are doing right now.
Yes.
Okay, shall we move on to the next question?
Sure.
Okay, for our next question, what inspired you to venture into your current SME and to market the product or service offered? I think you guys kind of did answer the question from our first one. But if there's any extra detail that you want to include, feel free to do so.
I think, okay, I mean, for this one, of course, when we started the business, it was a home business, and we actually just took it as a full-on passion project. But Shaq and I had a conversation really early on that even though it's just going to start as a home business, we were going to structure it as though it was a full-fledged business, just for the reasons of scalability in the future and so on and so forth. In terms of like what inspired us to venture into our chosen industry, I think during that time, none of us really felt or anticipated the impact of COVID-19 yet. So it wasn't like, oh, this would be a good thing to do at this time. It was, we chose the food industry purely because I have managed to get a couple of years of experience in the industry on my own. And we just looked into the burger market, for example, and we realized that, okay, chicken burgers are not as championed and talked about as beef, or rather the ratio is a huge gap, you know? So that's how we picked our product and brand and where we chose to enter. Yeah.
I see.
If I can add,
Yeah, sure.
sorry, Michelle. No, like for us, the furniture business, the furniture industry is really big. But scaling it down to even the SMEs, it's still sizable. Right? But how we position ourselves, or where we fall in, is more of the artisanal carpentry businesses. Very far and few in between. Right? We've had a few generations before us. So we are basically somewhere in the middle. Right? But even in this small market of artisanal carpentry, right? There's still which is getting more and more involvement, where there are more upcoming carpenters coming in. A lot more from people who have, like I said, shifted jobs. You know, there are a few that I read in the Star that there's three friends. They were photographers and videographers for the newspaper, and then they decided that they wanted to do carpentry. So a lot of people are diving into carpentry, and I think also maybe some in the culinary, in the F&Bs as well. When people shift from what they were originally doing, and they seek a shift in environment or a shift in business, I've seen some growth in the carpentry business, the artisanal carpentry business. So I think for us, developing products had to be really of our own. So we really had to carve out our differentiating factor in terms of design and also in terms of offering. Because yes, it is a small market, it is a small group of artisanal carpenters, but we also do not want to fall into having everything very similar to what everybody's offering. Right? So apart from just doing custom furnitures, and also then we started gradually moving into coming up with our own furniture that started carving out our own brand and our own identity, so that it differentiates us a bit from those that are also in the market. And it's not even, I wouldn't say competition. I mean, it's a big pie to share among all of us, but everybody's got their own fortes, so to speak. So we've somehow developed ours throughout the years.
I see. I do have a question though, because seeing how both of you actually met from an NGO, and also it was to build homes for the orang asli, what do you think about like woodwork industry regarding sustainability? Because right now that is the main issue of like our depleting resources and everything. So how do you actually go about regarding sustainability with your business?
Yes, with our business, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we are slowly moving towards sustainability in that sense in our business, in terms of the materials that we use, and a lot of thought process have been put into the best use of these materials, right? And also the processes, and also any of the consumables that we use. Environmental friendly, we use odorless finishing for our finishes. If you can see, we are slowly moving more towards the sustainable material, in the sense that we are using rubber wood in a lot of our product offerings. So it is a very, 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 very wide aspect of sustainability, that is sustainability, especially when it comes to furniture or carpentry. But we are slowly looking at our processes. We're slowly looking at our full supply chain and our from design right up to acquisition of materials, best use of materials, and also then the actual fabrication process. So we try to incorporate as much as we can to be in line with what we deem to be sustainable in that sense.
I see. Shall we move on to the next question regarding funding of the capital? If both are ready. Okay, so we would like to know, how did you secure the funding for your business initially from the start? Who would like to go first?
Okay, fine.
You want to go, Johann?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, we didn't know who you're directing the question to. So for us, with FowlBoys is actually quite interesting. Is that in the very beginning, we came up with a total spend of 1,000 ringgit between both Shafiq and myself that we used for the R&D process. And when we started kind of doing our R&D phase as well, there was how there's a phase where you would put a certain price point and sell it to your friends and family and get the justification on your price versus product value, right? So through that, we actually because we started as a home business, we had our overheads were minimal, right? We didn't have to pay for rent. We didn't have to. We bought a 80 ringgit fryer from Shopee to start it off. No joke. It was that. It's still in the trunk of my car. It's still alive. So that fryer, and we got I think just the minimal stuff. So the total spent about $1,000. And as we sold, we were just really, really disciplined on not touching a cent from any of the sales. And we kept rolling that. And fortunately for us, in the time that we started out as a home business, to have minimal overheads and to not even require to pay each other a salary, we just kept rolling our funds. And after 3 months, we have accumulated enough funds to move out of the apartment into a shared kind of central kitchen space that belonged to a friend of ours. And we were there for, I think, about 8 months. And then in that 8 months, we kept rolling our funds once again to accumulate more. And then in March this year, we moved into a cloud kitchen location. So for us, we didn't have a capital injection, or neither did either one of us as the business owners inject funds to start with, other than that initial 1,000 ringgit. So it's quite a crazy scenario, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you say that because FowlBoys was founded during the pandemic time, right? Would you say that it actually helped also since online food delivery and everything was booming, and it was our choice to go to since the lockdown and all? So would you kind of attribute the pandemic situation to how FowlBoys actually started from there and then to where they are right now?
Yes and no, because the delivery business model, the market, it has been growing in these past couple of years. In other countries, other cities, it has been growing, even in our own cities, right? But yes, in a way that the pandemic expedited the awareness and the demand of this market. So even when the pandemic was happened, or when the lockdown was announced, we as a business converted our model, because initially it was supposed to be a pop-up based model, because we had zero experience and whatnot. So we thought we'll start off as a pop-up brand. But because of the pandemic and that shift in business model, it's not that we were we saw that opportunity that because the pandemic is happening, but more that it just because of how everything came to be, that, okay, now we know that the delivery market has actually a huge demand. Or rather, if you think about it, we've been doing this for many years. We've been buying stuff online for so many years. is that now we're just making it more direct and towards everything that we can buy. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean the pandemic definitely accelerated our growth lah. And if there was no pandemic, I think what we see now, we would have had enough confidence in the product and the brand to know that it would have done okay. But to see the amount of growth that we've had in this short amount of time, under normal circumstances, probably would have taken us, 2 years probably to reach where we are now, most likely.
Yeah.
I see. What about Adi? How did you secure the funding for your business?
Well, to do what we do, we really needed space, right? And of course, we couldn't work off where we lived. But we started off at the back of our friend's workshop for a good 3 to 4 months. That helped us get us off our feet. Right up until we secured our first major job, which was a building up a whole office space. So then that was undertaken by just the two of us. So going forward from there, knowing that we wanted to do a whole lot more than including wanting to do workshops and all that. We needed to get our own space. So securing funding, I would say, was more about our family really assisting us at the start, right? Just to give us a bit of seed capital to help us through or help us get started. But we were also fortunate enough because at the start, whatever capital that we had to put in, we didn't have to invest in fixed assets. It is only because we've been fortunate to have a friend of mine whose father was a hobbyist woodworker, and he was saving up all his tools for when he was going to retire. So, but he still did a bit of hobbyist woodworking here and there. So he was so nice as to loan us the tools that are needed to make furnitures. So a lot of our capital, or basically most of our capital, just only went to acquiring a workshop space, and then we just got started with that. So it was not really high, not that low too, not like the 1,000 that our FowlBoys were able to start off theirs. We wish we could have had worked off that, but it was sizable enough to just get us started. So we've been thankful that that these two opportunities came along. Our supportive family one, and also this uncle that that had tools. And you have to imagine that these are tools. These are tools that are ready, and you're able to start a business with, right? And we were fortunate enough for him to loan it to us, and then we've been working ever since. So in terms for us, building up on those set of tools, we did it very organically. We only introduce new tools that we need based on our needs analysis. So if we only need a new tool, and then we will get it. Also, when it comes to scaling up, because of the amount of work, then yes, it will also be the premise for us to invest in something new. But to tell you honestly, we only really invested in a new machinery only after 2 years being in the business. So we were fortunate enough to have that kind of support to start.
That's great to hear.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, if I just question add on to what Adi just said, is that I think the commonality that between his business and the one that we have as well is that when we wanted to start, we didn't have all the resources we need. And I think what's really cool and interesting to hear Adi say is that in a time like that, your best skill set to have is your resourcefulness and figuring out whether it's friends or families and how to minimize your costs as you even go for your first couple of years. With FowlBoys, during the time when I was in the apartment, we did the same thing when we wanted to buy kitchen equipment, or if we needed an upgrade or in our operations. We would actually go, okay, we need a new fryer. How much is that going to cost? How many burgers do you have to sell by when to be able to afford it? And that was the structure of FowlBoys for a good 3 months, because we really took it from ground up, and we bought what we need when we could, and then just kind of worked that cost of that new piece of equipment into our day-to-day kind of P&L, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Following from our previous question, are there any thoughts on expanding the business for FowlBoys and ID Ida?
Adi, why don't you go ahead?
Thanks. For us, physically expanding our business in terms of our footprint, we are where we want to be, at least for the next 2-3 years. We have been fortunate enough to get a really good location, and physically, I don't think we will be expanding. Only maybe more on internally rearranging to get the best out of the footprint that we have. In terms of business offerings, yes, we are gradually moving towards introducing our own line of furnitures. So that is expanding that, and also building on top of what we already built for the past 2 years in terms of our workshop offerings. So those are the expansion. But of course, looking at how the pandemic is, that part of our business model, which is the workshop, will have to take a step back. But we are then slowly moving on our other parts of the business, which is basically a bit of commission work, but a lot more introducing our own furnitures in the market.
I see. What about FowlBoys?
Okay, so to be honest, where we were at last year, maybe middle of last year, me and Joe were kind of like, we saw a bit of success, and we both kind of agreed, like, okay, let's take our time with this. We're in no hurry. We're just going with the flow. And I think it wasn't until end of last year when suddenly, we got into Grab, and orders, the volume was growing exponentially. And sometimes we consult my brother, who's a financial consultant, and he told us, like, we told him, like, look, we're in no hurry to expand. We enjoy how things are going now, and we don't want to be too greedy. But his advice to us was, no, you guys have this momentum right now. You should be seizing it. This is the time to at least look into opening up, your own brick and mortar. Because opening up our own store, it's a totally backwards direction to where we started, right? Being a cloud kitchen, quite low overheads compared to opening up your own shop. But then again, obviously, opening up our own store will hopefully give us better margins, right? So we can have space for dine-ins and delivery. So with that in mind, we decided to open up our first brick and mortar in Subang. And it was supposed to open, I think, about a month ago, but because of this EMCO, our renovations are stuck at about 85%, which sucks. So we're bleeding a bit there, but doing what we can lah. Yeah.
Adi, you're located in PJ, right?
Damansara, yeah.
Damansara, yeah.
You guys in Subang?
Yeah, so like once they open up their brick and mortar stores, can definitely get FowlBoys already then.
I'll definitely. Yes, I can.
Whenever that is.
On the menu, they have me as a lot.
We should have it. We should have it by then, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, that's.
Yes.
Moving on, we would like to know whether did you like how long did it take for the company to earn a profit? It's a little bit P&C, if you don't mind sharing. Maybe you can start off with FowlBoys.
Yeah. How much time did it take for us to turn a profit? I think it's a rather interesting question for us to answer because the way the company has been structured financially from the beginning, it's not like we had a plan, a rollout plan, and how our finances will be structured. Okay, how much is good? None of that happened. It was, let's just calculate what we need, and then because I work in a manner where I reverse engineer everything. If this is how much it's going to cost us to run for the next 3 months, so that's the kind of funds I need to acquire as soon as possible. right? So, for example, let's say 3 months we needed 10,000 ringgit to operate and keep everything going. So the moment we acquire, so we'll immediately work towards accumulating that 10,000 ringgit and then parking it so that it's used for what it's needed to. And then we take the remaining, whatever earnings from the remaining days, and then it's a rinse and repeat process. So because for us, we had a very, very low starting overhead of 1,000 ringgit, technically, we turned a profit after a month. But realistically, as a whole picture, we actually didn't turn a profit until perhaps our 1 year mark, because everything just kept rolling, you know. So, but even then, I would even at that point, I wouldn't really say the company has turned a profit yet. That's like my honest of where we're at, because of how it's structured and how everything is going. And it will probably take us, realistically speaking, in this climate, perhaps another 12 to 18 months at the very least, to turn a proper profit. Yeah.
I see. What about Adi?
Well, I would say that, you know, like a lot of companies, there is a gestation period where you slowly get into your cycle, and then at that moment, then you start turning your profitability around. For us, it was quite an uphill struggle. We didn't come into a ready-made market, right? And then we had to go in basically unknown, right, with a new brand, and into a market, or into the marketplace where furnitures, especially for a lot of Malaysians, furnitures are built-ins. So you got to understand, built-ins are done and fabricated by factories that have millions in machinery, hundreds of workers, I would assume. So in order for us to really get into a market that we had to slowly carve out bit by bit, slowly starting with word of mouth, it took us quite some time to realize some profit. I would say maybe 2 years into it, that we started really seeing ourselves fall into a cycle where it became more sustained in terms of revenue. I wouldn't say that even sustained revenue would mean that it's an immediate profit anyway. But at least, yeah, it took us some time to really get to that position, to that cycle where it was somewhat sustained. So it went about for a good year or so, or two years or so, yeah, until of course then the pandemic started. So then to a lot of our forecast out the window. You know, we came to face unprecedented obstacles. And of course, like how we built it and how we've been building our business is that we do it organically, where we put in whatever we take out of it. You know, it's nothing taken out, realized, and enjoyed. It's basically anything that has been realized in the business is then poured back into the business in order to maintain short-term to medium-term goals. Whereas getting our sustainable level of stocks in terms of our materials and all that. So even though we were able to get to ourselves to a position where we experienced some sustained income. A lot got turned upside down when the MCO started, and that is when we started to have to be creative with what we wanted to do. Yeah, but unlike other businesses, I guess gestation period will be different. Ours was a bit tougher because, like I said, we were relatively unknown, and we really had to. And furniture, right? Furniture is a lot about trusting the brand or trusting the workmanship. So we really had. It's a chicken and egg situation. We cannot get our furnitures out there if you're not asked to build the furnitures. When you're a custom fabricator. So we took every opportunity we could to get our pieces out and try to make the best of it. And from there, it started rolling, and we've been thankful, and we've been very lucky to have returning customers. We've had friends who really put put their heads out and put their necks out to push our brand further. So yes, we are slowly getting to where we want to be, but I think it may take some time for us to recover from what we had to go through this past year and a half.
Yeah, if I could add a perspective to this question, because this right on the screen staring at me, is the mentality also of, if you look at the questions, how much time did it take your company to earn a profit? If I could share something with everyone, is that perspective is something that's not necessary to me. Because if you walk into a business, a new venture, with that thought of, okay, I'm going to be spending X amount of money to start the business. At what point do I get my money back and turn a profit, right? I feel like coming into a business venture with that mentality, you're always going to chase that profitability first. Whereas with what we did with our company was we put profitability out aside for a while and just looked at the sustainability of the business. So we focused more on having the ability and the capacity to be able to run our businesses month to month, no matter what. Because if your business is sustainable, then it's profitable eventually. Yeah.
Maximizing profits was not really a priority definitely in the first year. Even now, actually, it's more on where we can cut costs just to, like Joe said, to keep it sustainable.
But if I can add, it also I think adding on to them, I think it also gives a bit of a difference between entrepreneurs and businessmen or business persons, where entrepreneurs are more involved in cultivating the brand and the business first before hitting the profit. That means getting it sustainable, living. You're the living veins of the business. So the difference between that, even an investor going in, I'm going to put X amount of money into the business, like returns of however % every year. So that really, I think that may, in my understanding and in my point of view, that may be the slight difference between being an entrepreneur as opposed to being a business person.
Absolutely, and I think it relates to the soul of the brand as well, and the passion that we put into it. It was very much, it started as a passion project. So that's why, as I mentioned before, it wasn't about maximizing profits. It's just doing what we enjoy. Obviously, we want to see a healthy return at some point, and hopefully we're good. But I think it's the passion. Without the passion that we put into it, I don't think we would have seen the traction and success that we've been getting.
Just like what Adi mentioned, it's like the difference between the businessman and an entrepreneur. So like from my understanding and after your explanation, it's very obvious from how FowlBoys and Adi Aida is like managed, and like the birth of it, the planning that includes in it. It's the business is not like an entity. Instead, the business is you. Like all of you embodies the business. Yeah, it's a lot of like passion, hard work, but also it's good to focus on sustainability and not profitability, because generally as humans we tend to like, I want to make money, like that's the goal. But surviving is important. So regarding like cash flows and everything, did you guys use any software or specific methods, since tracking your revenues and like rolling your money is all very important to make sure everything's like tallied up and like everything's organized? Did anyone use any specific methods or software?
Other than an endless amount of Excel sheets, not really.
I agree with you. Yeah, we live highly Excel sheets, an Excel sheet that has multiple tabs at the bottom.
100%.
I try my very best to get the color coordinated, but it's basically the Excel sheet is what we live by.
But there's a platform that we eventually used too. We started off with a bunch of Excel sheets and as a home business, but of course, as we were scaling the business up, we can't exactly have a whole hard drive worth of Excel sheets, right? So there is a software or program called Zero that we also use. So if that to answer that specific question, yeah. But in all honesty, as a small business or any SME out there, if you ask any one of us, our best friend when it comes to this is Excel sheets.
Yeah.
Okay, we should encourage everyone. Excel sheet skills. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
we do in life.
First piece of advice: just work on your Excel sheet skills.
Excel
Yeah, for
sheets.
sure.
Remember your formulas.
For sure.
Yeah, remember your formulas, remember the click and drags. Yeah, the formula. Yeah.
Interesting. Moving on for our next question, we would like to know how often do you review and revise the economics of your business? Since there's a lot of rolling back, and after that, like planning ahead, what do you want to do for like the next duration of period and whatnot? Like how often for an
For me?
SME do you guys do it? Yeah, for
Okay.
Very often.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. The truth, yeah, because that's the truth of the climate of the market we live in now, and the nature and the structure of both Adi's businesses and ours is that it's you have to review it every day. Like for us, we are a food business that's we're selling food through delivery, right? So we rely on food aggregators like GrabFood, Foodpanda, Beepit, so on and so forth. We have to review every day because we have situations like, tiba-tiba hujan and there's no rider, or a major server crash on their end, and then it's like nobody can get anything. So, or it's a supply issue. When operational issues come up every day, for a business of like a size like ours, you have to review the economics every day, and putting it just the main focus that, okay, are we just healthy? Are we healthy enough to fight tomorrow? And I know it's a lot of the major theme here is a lot about survivability of a business, right? So we just kind of put all our efforts into that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a day that goes by that we're not stressing out, to be honest. So yeah, it's just the nature of the business, right?
Yeah.
What about for
Yeah.
Adi and Ida being in like a different industry than the food industry, since it's like a different spectrum?
Yeah, well, the industries may be different, fundamentally all the same. As we see and we get ourselves every day to see where we are, especially in this time of pandemic where you've got, well, especially more for us because we've got nothing more on our hands except for time. So that is when we really develop on how we want to go about doing things. We didn't come into this business with a market study and all that. So we really went in we went in to the deep end really quick. And what we did to start off with is to cast a white net on what we could do and what we couldn't do, what we should do and what we should be more vested into. We've done the craft markets, we've done furnitures, we've done small items, we've used our off-cuts to make small items, put it into small retail outlets. So we've done a lot. We've casted a wide net to begin with, and now slowly over time, of course, learning trial and error. When you're an entrepreneur, you've got to really, unless you're going to invest in a market survey or market study, you've got to really get down and dirty and just get it done on your own to find out what works and what doesn't. You invest a lot of time and a lot of effort in doing so, but the are first-hand results that you don't have to extrapolate from an Excel sheet or from a market survey in terms of percentages. It's basically you know what works and what doesn't work by doing it. So that is what we did, and we are constantly reviewing ourselves to see how we can make ourselves very relevant to the times that we are in. We need to understand what is the trend out there in terms of what are the aesthetic likes by the public. What do they like? What kind of furniture do they need? Do they want form over function, or the other way around, something more functional but without the form? These are the kind of things that we have to revise and that we really have to review. And both of us, and thankfully it's only the two of us, so decisions are very fast and very quick. So if we were to do our daily walks, we can discuss so much and get out of it from there. So like I said, SMEs like us, where there are very minimal decision makers, there are very minimal red tapes, so we can really be more fluid in what we want to do and how we run our business. Yes. Coming back to the question, yes. Like how how Shafiq and said that it's Johan. Sorry. Yeah, we constantly reviewing ourselves on a daily basis.
So it's every day, it's trial and error for the business to be reviewed and revised on how you can better it for the next day, no matter
That's
what
right.
industry you're in.
Yeah, that's right. Like there's no better formula than trial and error.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know?
you learn every day from whatever you did the
Exactly.
day before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we are stakeholders, right? So I mean, a lot at stake. So we have to constantly be on our toes and constantly review what works for us.
Yeah,
In that
and as
sense.
businesses that where we as the entrepreneurs, we are the business, right? We embody the business, like how you say. With that, because like I just said, there's so much at stake. It's
Exactly.
pretty much all of ourselves in it. So when it's something that's that kind of like close to your heart, you kind of, it's, even if you don't want to, even if I don't want to, even if I tell myself, all right, today no FowlBoys work, I will still be thinking about the business in my head. It's just the way it is. Yeah.
Next, we would like to know regarding your business marketing and customer reach. Like at the initial start, how did both business reach out to their customers, like to get to convincing people interesting to purchase the product or services offered?
Right.
How
I think
was the step of it?
for FowlBoys, it's quite interesting. One thing that we are lucky between the both of us is that Shaq comes from a marketing background, and I also have experience in marketing and branding as well. The both of us do, actually. And with both of us having experience in that and having some sort of expertise in that department, we knew from the get-go that the digital game is where it's supposed to be. So we went we weren't aggressive in terms of like paid ads or whatsoever in the beginning because we didn't have the budget to, but we did work on a very strong social media strategy. You know, Shaq is a really good copywriter, and I'm a photographer, so it made getting posts up pretty easy. I would take the photos, Shaq would put up the design, and then write a nice little caption on it. You know, so initially it was through social media and also, of course, word of mouth. We were really fortunate in that sense that the friends that we kind of sent our food to, we had them constantly sharing it with their friends and families. And speaking about reaching out to customers was in the digital marketing scheme, influencer marketing is a huge thing, right? And for us, we didn't spend for an influencer marketing like strat until after a year of the business existing. But where we were lucky was some of these influencers would actually purchase on their own from wherever they managed to see it, and them sharing it out on their own really helped the business as well. You know, and I think it was during the Ramadan period last year that we actually saw that growth digitally, where a lot of our local, like Muslim influencers, were ordering for buka puasa, and that kind of domino effect into a really good surge in Ramadan like orders or sales. And then from there, we just took it month by month. Like, okay, if this month our focus is a special product, like a special burger, then all efforts goes into pushing that out to as many people as possible. But if it's a slower month, but we're just looking into maintaining brand awareness, then perhaps we don't invest as much energy and time into it, but we pick the ones that we know are effective. So for example, if I would like to run this month where I would like more people to just be reminded of FowlBoys, I will perhaps send it to just a couple of friends, to be honest, or maybe increase or maintain a healthy traffic on our postings, you know. But then if it's a product focused month or campaign focused month, then that's where we bring in influencers and media houses to write about us and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So how FowlBoys started would be like word of mouth and also like just giving testings here, testings there, and then eventually just spread. But
Yeah.
but how does it apply to Adi's industry though? Like do you guys do the same thing from like word of mouth to like social marketing, like digital wise and everything?
Yes, exactly. But not like how they didn't start off that way. We were not really into our social media game until I think quite recently, maybe the past 2 years, maybe. It started off really like word of mouth, and not wanting to sound really cliche. It really started off with our putting the best product we can get out there. So the product that we built really had to be an extension of who we are, right? So it has to be built in a way that it speaks a world of us, right? And that's how we really depended on how we grew our business organically. We didn't have a shop presence. We didn't take up ads in magazines like for furnitures and all that. So it really started with word of mouth, building what we hope are the best products that we could build within our capacity, and then it just grew from that. We've been fortunate enough to have people trusting us in what we did at the start and how and the furnitures that we built. I must say that relationships are key to building businesses. Relationship with your customers, relationship with potential customers, and how it is not just your product, but also you yourself and how you maintain that relationship with the customer. Then from there, then you will see a lot of ripple effects from that relationship. Then you see the growth from there, and that is how it started. A lot of it is the slower way of doing it. It is a more organic way of building businesses. If you are really profit driven, then it may not always be the best path to venture into. But it was the path that we chose. Not the easiest of path, and of course not that brings in instant reward, but what it brought in was long-lasting relationship that we have with a lot of our customers that were with us from our first side table or from our first TV credenza, and now that they've gone to believing in us and giving us more jobs or introducing us to a whole different market that we ourselves to begin with wouldn't have even thought that we were able to penetrate into. So it is yes, put or not as as unsexy as it is as compared to what people use in terms of social media. It really works. It really works because of course the authenticity of what's spoken is what is something that can carry your brand. It can make or break your brand as well. You see, so like I said, relationships are key with everybody that surrounds you.
Yeah.
I think that it's fair to say that like relationship is also like part of a form that a business can invest in instead of everything just being monetary, machineries, like human resources and everything. Relationship.
It is also a good measure of how your business has come,
Mm.
or you person come from developing your business. It is a pretty good measure apart from the figures, the dollars and cents.
That's right. Like for us at FowlBoys, if you take Shaq and I out of the equation, it's a brand on its own. And if you've noticed, we have kind of developed a character that exists within the brand. And the reason why that exists is so that when you communicate with the brand, there is a sense of personality that's being kind of like exchanged between you and the brand, which, adding on to what Adi said, is building a relationship, and only through relationships that you build a community of consumers, right? And which leads back to sustainability of the business is if you have a healthy relationship with the community that you are serving, then your community will also always be there to ensure that you are up and running and alive as a business. Yeah.
That's so true. What would you guys say is your business unique selling point then? Like from the moment you were founded until now, and like has the unique selling point changed, or is it still like constant but it's just like improved and like upgraded to like what's marketable now, stuff like that?
I think if you want to talk about the USP of a tangible USP kind of on that spectrum, I would say it would definitely has to be it's the product. It is the product on its own. You know, is a fried chicken burger brand new? No, it's not. Is it is it only like known to be made one way? Of course not, right? It's actually really common in this city that we live in. But the USP of our product on its own is the way it's being presented to the consumers, you know, and which also leads to the non-tangible side, which is the attitude of our brand. FowlBoys has a very distinct attitude. From the copy that we use to the way we name our products, we like to have a lot of fun. And that, once again, stems from the personality of Shaq and myself, which actually gave birth to the name FowlBoys. The name FowlBoys was because the word fowl, F-O-W-L, means like poultry, right? So it's a play off that word, but it's also a play off the word fowl, F-O-U-L, which speaks to the attitude of the brand where we represent it with our spice, right, in the food itself. But as a brand, we talk about, if you look at the language that we use, I personally like to push the boundary, you know. When we released our newest burger on the menu that's right now is the Sugar Daddy. Now, when that came to be, and the burger was called something else completely, and it was just that it was in line for Father's Day, and I remembered a bunch of TikToks that I watched about people talking about sugar daddies, and then that sparked that link. But the decision to go with it comes from the attitude that we have as the entrepreneurs that we are, the people, the human beings that we are, you know, the personality that we have. And I think that for us is definitely the key selling point. There is the attitude. We bring an attitude to the kind of the food game that's fresh, something fresh for people to experience. Yeah.
What about Adi, for Adi and Ida? Like, what would you say besides furniture? Like, is there like any other elements that would be categorized as the business unique selling point besides what you're selling?
Well, just touching a bit about what we are selling. How a lot of our product offerings of our own furniture design comes about from us needing. It all started. A lot of this project start from what we need at home, as to make our daily lives a bit more functional. So it goes. We go about. We might need this. Okay, then let's just build something that we will use at home, and then we share it. And we've been fortunate enough that a lot of people relate, and we try to be in a position where we are able to be relatable in that sense. And a lot of our furnitures and those that we use embraces both form and function, and that it is a piece of furniture that has a function that has a function to it. So that's how we go about. So a lot of what we are offering out there is something that, to be honest, is something that we needed ourselves. You know, so we build it. We use, we see the benefits of using it, and we share. And that's how we have grown from strength to strength in terms of our product offering outside. So we try to be relatable in the sense that we try to build something that fills a void or fills a certain function in our daily lives. So that's what we do. So we're not going to build an extravagant dining table that fits 12 people. Not many will be staying in an apartment that needs a table that fits 12 people. But the nice four-seater table or a computer desk that we have where you have a small pocket where you can just slot in your laptop at the side once you're done with it, and then you can use it while you're having a snack watching TV. That's what we have. That's our product called Pocket. So the Pocket is basically the pocket that you slide your laptop into. It's a small opening on the side, and then you have at the table for you to use for meals. So that's how we go about coming up with our own products. First, thinking about what is needed. So it is more based on a need for it. So we build for what we presume to be something that is needed in any household. But in terms of our other unique points, I would say is our women only woodworking workshop. Now, we've come across over the past 2 or 3 years where there have been this the mushrooming of all these workshops, right? So you've got pottery, you've got baking, you've got all sorts, sewing and all that, right? But what we didn't see, or what we thought could be something that we offered was woodworking. Woodworking, to be honest, it's something that I think a lot of people may be looking for, because the last memory of woodworking for a lot of people will be command hidden in schools. So we thought that, and that would be that really long hiatus from not being able, enjoying woodworking, enjoying command hidden in school, and not being able to do anything unless you're a hobbyist yourself. So that's where we thought we would come in. And of course, and prior to introducing our workshop, we already had the experience of doing kids. And kids are the toughest clients. You have to keep them entertained, you have to keep them involved. So we have learned a lot from doing. Of course, it's not really the same in terms of the mechanics of the workshop, but so then we thought that yes, there is this possibility of providing workshops, and we wanted to do it. And we also thought that there may be because of course woodworking is what they say a man's domain, which is not entirely true. So we wanted to create that opportunity, or create the environment where women could relive their community of this, which a lot of them missed, and be able to learn woodworking skills and techniques in an environment where they feel comfortable in. So that is what we've been offering. That is what we are offering, and I would say that that is our USP in terms of our offerings.
Relating back to what Johann was mentioning, that FowlBoys, one of their USPs, like the attitude. Actually, I can clearly see, like for Adi and Ida, there is also the attitude, but it comes in terms of functionality, as you were saying just now. Because like the table you were mentioning, Meja, and I noticed like from your Instagram post, every single furniture piece is like it suits no matter how many square feet you have space around you, but it's like multifunctional.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we
it's very
always
interesting.
we are not as creative as the FowlBoys. It takes us a long time to come up with. It really is. You have no idea of the. We have to come up with names. We can come up with a lot of products, but just coming up with names is just something that's beyond us. So that is something that we're really working on.
I see. For our next question, have you ever thought of giving up on your business, and how do you overcome the hardship of it? Since establishing your SME definitely isn't an easy job. It's like you don't just like snap one day and be like, okay, I'm gonna run the business. I'm sure it comes with a lot of hardship. Would you guys mind sharing? Thank you.
For me, no. Really, the answer was no. It really is no, not was no, is no. Has there been days where I question the realistic abilities of the brand or the business? Of course, you have your days where you doubt not only the scheme of things, or you just doubt yourself in general, right? But to actually have the thought like, oh, I'm gonna throw it in the towel. No. When it came to those low times where I did have doubts or worries, I think, like for me, I communicated with my business partner, and I communicated with my team to, and in FowlBoys, we have a very open channel from us as the quote unquote business owners to the team running the kitchen day to day. It's a very open forum because we believe that only through communication that you can overcome, adversities. And that's kind of how I went through all that. I communicated that I needed help, and to be honest, in the beginning, I didn't. It was really hard for me to open up and say, hey, this is not working, or this isn't kind of doing well. What do we do? It was difficult for both Shaq and I to communicate that in the very beginning, but over time, and I think due to the love that we have for the brand and the business and the passion that we have, that we said, if we don't start communicating better with each other, this is not going to work. And that's what we worked on, and everything else kind of fell into place along the way.
Yeah. Just to add on to what Joe said, for me personally as well, I think giving up is really not an option, just because of what me and Joe and Joe's sister, what we went through for that first 3-4 months in my apartment, and how much we grinded. Like I'd have to wake up, 6:30, 7, go out, buy supplies, come back, we do all the prep, and then open up surveys, and we're frying, we're assembling, and I'm taking the orders down myself to the guardhouse to pass it to the riders. So there's literally blood, sweat, and tears, and then we wake up in the morning, we smell chicken, go to sleep, smell chicken, and it was just, honestly, it was just another level of physical and mental exhaustion. So that's why giving up really is really not an option for us. Yeah. And also why I think we've been playing it quite safe. We try to be as frugal as possible. We take some risks, but calculated risks. So yeah.
I see. What about Adi?
No. Like Shafiq said, giving up was never an option. When you've got so much vestige, if you've invested so much, you invested all your time, your energy into it, then you owe it to yourself to see it through. You really owe it to all the hard, all the long hours, all sweat and tears, and hopefully no blood. But yeah, you owe it to yourself. Really see it. There's no options of saying no. It's not something we are. To be honest, we are stakeholders. We are entrepreneurs. We are stakeholders. We own the business. That we do not have the luxury of, no, I tender my 30-day notice period, and I'm. No, we've got to meet. And I agree to what both of you said about communication. Is very important to constantly communicate with your team. I'm fortunate enough to have a very understanding partner who's also my wife, that takes in a lot because of how I personally. But the communication between the two of us is key to where we are now. Understanding what we're going through and what needs to be done. We sit down, we talk about it. We have had heated discussions on how we both wanted to see the business moving forward. But those are discussions nonetheless, and the outcomes are, and it's always based on the collected that it is for the business. Hardships will come in so many and in various forms, even more so nowadays. So in agreeing to what the boys have to say, Shafiq and Johann, yes, communication is key, and this is something that I will never give up. I will never even have thoughts of giving up. What I only have is only to make it better and to take it forward from there, and that's that. Yeah.
Moving on, we have our last two questions, which is, seeing how the pandemic is never ending, it has definitely affected the livelihood of Malaysians and many SME businesses. How did the pandemic affect your business, and what measures have you taken to overcome it? Adi, would you like to start first?
Sure. Well, the pandemic really took its toll on us when it came on, because when the when the MCO first hit, the first MCO, we were heavily invested in our workshops. That means we had bookings for like months ahead of workshop that we really had to delay and postpone, and that also basically hindered our ability to derive new income, because when the MCOs are lifted, then we can run workshops again, but these are not new workshops. Basically, these are workshops that has been postponed, that we have to go through the whole process of clearing them up before we could come and get in new participants. New participants means new income. So in the months where we couldn't open our workshops to conducting workshops, we really had to be fluid in what we wanted to offer. We really had to shift. We had to be very fluid in what we do. So our conversation with that okay, look, this is put on hold because of the pandemic and the MCOs. How do you go about it? So that we can, you see, our businesses has always been on ratio, right? Not this 40, but I mean ratio between what is time and effort between the two offerings that we have. So we've got products, furnitures at one end of the spectrum, and we've got workshops on the other end of the spectrum. So to work how the business works is that we both we could play around with, we could shift our focus on either one of this, or do a more umbrella focus if the time and the situation permits. So when the MCO happened, we couldn't derive our income from the workshop, so we shifted to the furniture business, the furniture part of it, right? Because then we were allowed to work with that. We could build furniture still. So and the nature of our furniture business is that there is no physical meeting with our clients. Everything is done via WhatsApp. They'll come up to us and they'll say, "Oh, I need a TV cadenza." So I will say, "Okay, do you want us to design one, or you have a design in mind that you want us to replicate or even modify for your liking?" And then we'll go on from there. So then we will do that. We would then come with the cost. They agree the cost. They pay the deposit, and we build and we did. We've had a client that has requested like 4 furnitures from us over the past 3-4 years, and we've only met them last year. So that was the nature of the business. So being able for us to shift our focus between what we were offering allowed us to stay afloat. So we shifted to what the conditions permitted us to. When we could do workshops, we shifted back to the workshops, and we went on and we found more workshops on top of that in the short period that we had. So we had to maximize whatever window, because of course we wouldn't know the available working window between MCOs, right? At times we had a week in between. At times we had a couple of months between. So we had to really focus, put all our energy and effort into that part of the business when we could. And then when that shift, when MCO came again, then we had to shift back to our furniture. But then the furniture is something that requires people to. So then you cannot create that need unless someone wants a furniture. So how do we create a new business? Then we came out with our own products. One. Another thing is our build at home kits. So that means we've got build kits that are sent home, and then they build at home. They have a video on YouTube where they can follow. It's like a step-by-step. So it's basically recreating what we offer in our workshops for building. We've put it on YouTube, and then we deliver the build kit to them. It's complete with all the nails, everything's pre-drilled. There's all the parts that you need for the 3 different build kits that we have, and all they have to do is just follow a step video that we have on YouTube. So then they go about building it. So these are we had to be innovative. So as entrepreneurs, right? First, of course, you've got to be creative to carve out your market, right? But also you've got to be innovative enough in order to, you have to really redefine yourselves, right? To stay relevant to the situation. So and so that is how we have kept ourselves afloat. But of course, the further along this MCO goes, it gets a bit tougher to stretch out. So we're trying our very best to stay afloat during this extended MCO.
I'm hearing a lot of adaptability also based on what you're explaining. It's a lot of like adapting to like changing times, government SOP, and like, just not knowing what's going to happen next. There's so much unknown during the pandemic time. And I'm sure it has affected FowlBoys also. Would you guys mind elaborating on that as well?
For us is, as much as it is a pandemic-born business, of course, the pandemic affects the business as well, with how we get our food out, acquiring customers, and so on and so forth. But how we overcome it, yes, same thing. It is about adaptability. And also what we did was we focused on the smaller goals. And then we developed strategies to attack those goals. And then we just move from one to another, and the goals over time just grows a bit bigger, right? So that's how we manage actually the pressure that's being put onto the business, onto ourselves, and look at it as, let's just do well enough this week so that we're able to fight next week. And that really is an underlying tone that we had from the very, very beginning. Because for us, we didn't know what this would become. And to be really transparent on it, I still don't fully know what this can or can't become. And with so much uncertainty and the fact that the industry is becoming more and more unpredictable, the best you can do as an entrepreneur now is to just hold on to your strengths, work on your weaknesses, and then attack your smaller goals on a more frequent basis than trying to achieve a huge goal per quarter, for example. Yeah.
I also wanted to add on, we are an essential business, so, we're not exactly directly affected, but there are some suppliers that we work with that isn't considered essential, especially this recent EMCO, right? So prime example was just a couple of weeks ago. We use a lot of stickers for our packaging and to seal, like a safety seal on our combo boxes. So they're really important to our product. But we found out very last minute during the MCO, suddenly all like my main printers were all shut for at least, I think they announced like some of them didn't even know when they will reopen. Some said 2-3 weeks. So, instead of, I don't know, going on social media and just, blasting the government, whatever, we decided to just, you have to be resourceful. Being resourceful is a very important trait, I think, when you're running your own business, right? So what I did was I went to Facebook Marketplace, just search printer sticker, reached out to like 4 or 5 people, got different quotes, managed to find one. So these are, the smaller printers that were operating, I guess, illegally or whatever, but you sometimes just have to do what you have to do, yeah.
It's really tough times to find resources and everything, but like as Shafiq mentioned, you got to do what you got to do, because it's like the business is not only like your livelihood, but like any other people that's like your stakeholders also affected. And that brings us to our last question. We would love to know, to what do you attribute the success of your business to?
Number one for FowlBoys would be the team. It really is the people. Regardless of how amazing of a brand name or the branding of your business can be, it still comes second to the people who are behind it. And with FowlBoys, from the very beginning, I had my younger sister come on board. So it also becomes a family thing. And like how Shaq mentioned, that we also seek advice from his brother. So it's already very family orientated, the people who started the business. And then through the people that came and joined the business along the way, as we expanded, we implemented the same amount of importance towards the relationship that we have with each other and the relationship that we have with the business. you know. With and when I say the team is because like we are a food business, right? And we are required to run every day. That's one of the measures for the consumer to see a food business go, okay, they're legit because they're able to operate this every day. And to be able to do that, you need not only talented people, but you need really committed and driven people. So the team is definitely the number one attribute that at least we are giving for FowlBoys, definitely.
What about for Adi and Ida, seeing that it's both run by you and your wife? So what do you attribute the success of your business to?
Well, first and foremost, it's definitely the team. Basically, myself and my wife. You know, it's not it. It didn't come overnight that we were able to gel. We were not exactly yin and yang to begin with. You know, the yin to the yang. But it is something that was developed throughout the years. A lot of lows and highs that we have to go through together. We also one thing we were discovering ourselves as business partners. One. Colleagues, business owners, as well as husband and wife in the same period of time. So there were a lot of aspects of our relationship that we had to discover, and we had to see what works and what didn't, and we basically together sailed through it, and we are where we are today. Secondly, we had a lot of support from family and friends. So that I think that we could attribute, especially at the start and even now, even throughout. Even though we are not physically near each other, but the support and the friendships are the one that really brought us through. Thirdly, I brought it up before, was the relationships that we built. The relationships that we built within the community that we built. We've been fortunate enough to have, of course, the uncle that started us off with all the tools. But we've also been fortunate enough to have understanding landlords. We had understanding material suppliers. That, of course, it is a relationship that we built over time, right? But we've been fortunate enough for them, in their own ways, supported us. We may have been late on some months in terms of rental. We would request a certain extension from our suppliers in order for us to manage our cash flow better. So the success to where we are today is one, and first and foremost, the relationship we built internally between myself and my wife. The support that we had from those who are close to us, our closest bubble, which are our friends and family. And thirdly is the community that we are in, the community that we are operating in. It is without the relationship that we've been building over the years, the good relationship we've been building over the years with various customers or even suppliers, peers, other woodworkers as well. I think we wouldn't be where we are today. We've had support from, to be honest, we had support from other peers as well, the other woodworkers, where if something that we cannot undertake and that we want to maintain the integrity of our relationship with our customers, we share that resource with our fellow peers, and with that we grow our own secondary bubble beyond. So we've got the core, which is myself, my wife, and myself. And then we've got our primary bubble, which is the family and friends. And then we've got our secondary bubble, which we are constantly growing and constantly maintaining.
Thank you so much for insights from both FowlBoys and ID and Ida. We have already reached the end of our set of questions. And to conclude our Q&A session, we would like to know if you guys have any advice to students who aspire to be entrepreneurs.
I mean, there's so many things actually that we can say. Well, if there's one thing is really hone into what is it that you want to do. It's okay to not have a solid plan. It's okay to not have an idea of how far you can go, but commit to the idea and do your homework. If you're like, for us, we're building a burger brand, so we have to do our homework and understanding how the industry works here. What's the market share available, and all this kind of research that you have to do in the industry to decide on the best strategies to succeed, right? But coming back to what I'm saying is that really commit to your idea, and if you have an idea for a brand, think it through. Don't just think about how I want the brand to look and how I want it to sound, but think about how would that brand grow? How would that brand, how is it reaching a customer? You know, really committing to all the minute details. And like I said, even though I say it's okay to not have a plan and not have an idea of how far you can go, that approach, that commitment approach, will not only ease your pressure as you step into your venture, but you'll also actually, build your confidence along the way to take greater risks or to make a bigger, more aggressive move, you know? So yeah, that's, for me, that's what I have to say. Just really commit to the idea that you want to execute and do your homework.
Shafiq, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's pretty much whatever Joe said. You know, if you believe in something so strongly, you're passionate about it, do it. Just do it. You know, a lot of people have ideas. Someone else might have thought about doing a Southern Fried Chicken burger joint as well, you know, but the difference is taking that idea and making it into a reality. You know, not many people get past the ideation stage, maybe because someone said that, oh, you can't do it, you know, but if you truly believe in it, and like Joe said, do your research, do your homework, don't be delusional also lah. You know, like if you really believe in an idea and you can justify that idea, do it, you know. I never thought I could start an F&B business with just 1,000 ringgit, but we did, you know. So I think that's a good example that anything's possible, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, just don't take no for an answer. If you're fighting for something that you love and you want, don't take no for an answer.
That's true. Persistence is key. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
What about you?
Well, to begin with, you must first know your why. Why do you want to do it, right? And throughout you working towards what you plan out to achieve, always stay true to your why you want to do it, right? Always work with the highest level of integrity, because relationships make or break what you put all your effort into, right? Going into what you want to do, right, you will not have enough time to educate yourself or to prepare yourself with what you're going to be coming up against as you go along to your journey. But always staying true to yourself, putting in the hours, you will go through every obstacle that will come your way. Right? Finally, try not to chew or bite off more than you can chew. I mean, as entrepreneurs, you've got to be able to see yourself go through whatever is thrown at you as you go on. And when you come to a point where there is so much opportunity that presents itself, try to be realistic as you can, what you want to do, and in order to maintain yourself in a level that you can sustain, right? You may be tempted along the way, but that may be something that may not last and may not be able to sustain. So bottom line is, I mean, just stay true to yourself, work on yourself, and maintain that high level of integrity.
Yeah, and we mentioned, to touch back something we called back earlier about being difference between entrepreneurs and a business person, right? So that, like, for the three of us here, who we are, what we are very much in our businesses and in our brands. So same thing for you guys is that like when you want, if you want to be an entrepreneur, like know who you are. And as much as like this whole self-discovery process is a marathon and a journey kind of thing, I get it. But also kind of start asking yourself those kind of questions like, okay, what's my nature like? What am I made of? How does that impact or affect the way I would run a business? Or how would that affect the way I present my brand, right? Because it's very much personalized to who we are as the entrepreneurs. So knowing being committed to the idea that you want to have and knowing how much of you is involved and sticking to those strengths and those anchors will not only take you far, but I think it will also kind of help shield you from the immense amount of distractions that will come. Yeah.
And,
From my understanding sorry, Adi, you like continue first?
Sorry, if I can just add a
sure.
quick one. Have to appreciate the now. Okay, as much as you are so immersed into the business, right? Do not be blindsided of what's going on around you. I mean, there is a very fine line in the work-life balance that you can so easily be too immersed in one that you overlook the other. So really try and the time and here and there, try and appreciate now, and not to be too immersed in it also. It's the balance that you want to achieve, the equilibrium between work and the personal life and the relationships that are beyond work. That matters as well.
I would just like to tell all three speakers, honestly, the greatest takeaway that I've taken from all your insights and everything, it's that if you don't nurture yourself as a person, you can't actually nurture your business and vice versa. It has to go both ways symbiotically. As you nurture your business, you nurture yourself, you nurture yourself, you nurture your business. And that's how, in the long run, you're going to sustain as an entrepreneur, as a business. And yeah, that's a very important aspect to take in as well.
Yeah, if you look at it in retrospect, right? Running a business and living a life is pretty much parallel, right? How you take care of yourself so that you could live another day, fight another day. How do you go through your own personal adversities and what are your own strategies to overcome them and be successful in your own personal life? It's the same kind of like mentality that we take as entrepreneurs into our businesses, So yeah, to sum up what you just said, definitely take care of yourself first, because especially in a time like this, I mean, just sorry to touch on something a bit sour for a minute, but look at the rate of mental health issues that's been surfaced towards the awareness of the public, right? It is a growing concern that we as a community, we as a society aren't taking care of ourselves enough because we are prioritizing our rice bowls, right? But if you are not in a good shape to work, then how's that rice bowl gonna get there, right? Yeah.
It's very, very, very true. Thank you so much, Adi, Joe, and Shafiq for sharing with us today on your experiences as an SME entrepreneur. And right now, moving on, we will proceed with the open floor question with Hani. Thank you.
All right, so if any of the participants here have any other questions, you guys can just drop in the chat box. So in the meantime, we have two questions. One from Adam Haris. The question is, can I know how the two business price your goods? Is there any method used or just based on current markets?
For FowlBoys, I mean F&B, in general, there is like a base formula. For example, if it's a food product, it's you times 3 your cost of the food, and then with your drinks, it's between times 3 to up to even times 5, depending on how you want to manage your margins. So even though that there is a base formula, but like within FowlBoys, yes, some products follow the base structure. Some we do compromise, we will compromise where we make maybe less of a margin, you know, to provide value, right? Because, for example, let's say after I worked out the cost, the selling price of a burger is 25 ringgit. Then that's a tough sell. You know, just the burger alone, nothing else, for 25 bucks, that's a tough sell. So that's where we compromise, right? We will go, okay, let's work with a smaller margin, but then develop a strategy to overcome that issue by working down the volume game. So I guess to answer your question plainly is there is a base structure, but each and every one of us will tweak and maneuver that in our own ways.
Well, for us, there is that formula as well. For when it comes to that, so there is the material cost, and you've got your incidentals, you've got your consumables, and then you've got your work hours that you invest in that certain product. For us, our furniture, yes, so you've got your work hours that you put a cost to it, and also then you've got your profit margin that you have on top. Why that differs between your work hours and your profit margin? It is because some jobs may be farmed out to a third party. So that cost is taken up. So it is not an additional cost. It is a cost that you already accounted because you already accounted for your man hours in there. So basically that man hours represents the time you put in, or as an opportunity cost, something that is farmed out. So that is that cost that you have in there. So it doesn't eat into your profit margin. That's one way of doing it. But when it comes to a lot of our that comes to very, very standard products. But when it comes to more bespoke items, to tell you honestly, it is really how much you value your artisanal skills, if so to speak. Because coming from our point of view, building custom furniture is a lot of an extension of our creativity. Two, even if someone comes out with a picture, I want this table, and it's only a frontal this cupboard. You don't know how it looks like inside, so you've really got to reverse engineer that. So that's also that value to that, you know, that people do not understand. Sometimes they just say, I want this furniture, can you do it like this? And then they compare it to something that they can get off a similar aftermarket product. So a lot of it, when you want to do your pricing structure, when it comes to more artisanal pieces that we build, is how much you value your contribution to that piece. Right? So that price is not dictated by the likes of maybe just say IKEA, which of course has economic scale, and they can really do it at a low cost because they are making thousands from that one base cost. Right? Whereas for us, when it comes to more artisanal pieces, it is really the time value, the creativity value that you put in. So the price that you put out, and this is what my wife always tells me, right? The price that you put out at the cost must represent the amount of effort that you put into it, and it cannot be dictated by a fixed formula outside. So it's a lot of things. That's why as how it is, bespoke furnitures come at a bit more premium only because of such items that we have to consider, such considerations.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the next question, which is from Nick Andy. Looking back during the early pandemic days, what's one thing you would do differently for your business? So maybe we can start with Adi.
Yeah. Honest, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for all the decisions that we've made leading up to where we are today. We are grateful to be where we are, in the position that we are. We really try not to dwell on what decisions we made before or do anything differently, because where we are today is basically an amalgamation of all the decisions that we've and all the experiences that we've gone through, and we are then the culmination of all that. So to say that if we were to do anything differently, or there may be nothing in specific, but I think I think we have progressed where we are, thankfully, based on all the decisions that we made beforehand.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Adi. Despite me saying that it was, the 4 months that we spent in my apartment, even though it was very stressful, it was a good learning experience. The best way to learn is really from experience and the mistakes you make, and that's helped us inform our decisions that we make today. And that's not to say just go in blindly and not do your research. Like, try to know and as much as you can, but don't get bogged down by the little things. Just do it, and through experience lah, you'll learn.
Yeah, I think like for us, if there's anything, like honestly, if there's anything that I would do differently, is perhaps like, well, then again, I can't say that. I was going to say communications, but we also learned it through our trial and errors as business partners with our team. That okay, I can't talk to Shaq like this, or he goes, I can't approach Joe that way. Whichever it may be, and so
we learn to communicate by not communicating.
Yeah, exactly. So really doing something differently, not really. There's nothing specific that I don't think any one of us can point out, because it's a continuous kind of like change in how we operate and manage.
If you're too scared to do something because you feel like it might not work or there's flaws, but how do you fix something if you don't see where the flaws are, right?
So,
All right. Okay, so we've got another question from Azizo. Looking at how the pandemic will come to an end sooner or later, how has your company set out a plan to further enhance and expand your business in the future?
100%. Before I answer that question, the one thing I would say is this first, is that if you want to be an entrepreneur and you're unwilling to be aggressive, then it makes that journey very difficult for you. So to answer your question, each and every one of us have a plan. Whether or not we execute the plan the way it was written out, that's a whole different conversation. But if we approach a business without the mentality of having at least a rough plan set out, then we are playing a game that's way too risky. You like you said, like right now, for example, even with Adi's business and with ours, we have the stakeholders' livelihoods that we're responsible for. We have our team's livelihoods that we're responsible for. So, of course, the company needs to have a plan to tackle the obstacle of, can this business sustain for another 5, 10, 15 years, right? And looking at the pandemic, for us per se, what will change? If the pandemic ends and all goes back to normal, we will have dine-in becomes popular all over again. So the question for FowlBoys, which is still up in the air, is, as that change, do we shift from a cloud kitchen operation model into a brick and mortar model more? Or do we stay within the cloud kitchen setup? Because what if the delivery market demand never subsides enough for us to warrants us to change, right? So it's with so many things still being unpredictable, we have to set up a plan, and like we said, being super adaptable with whatever is being thrown at us, and then decide the best foot forward, basically.
Sorry, go ahead, Adi.
No, Shafiq, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just to add on to what Joe said, case in point is for us, I mentioned our first brick and mortar in Subang that we're setting up. We made the decision to actually, it's quite a large space, and instead of maximizing the amount of dine-in space that we have, we decided to go half-half. So we decided to build a big kitchen, but also have some dine-in space. So it's a good way for us to test, once things open up again, we go back to normal, how will it go, So, yeah.
So, I agree with Johann and Shafiq. Yes, we have plans for when everything reverts back to a new normal. But yes, of course, all our plans are still simulated plans. these are plans that we discuss internally. Yes, we put some parameters in what can be expected, but we cannot fully expect how our plans are going to pan out until we are able to put it out. So being entrepreneurs, yes, being innovative in your plan, having plans ready, medium, short-term plans, yes, long-term goals, of course. But the true measure of an entrepreneur is being able to adapt yourselves to when your simulated plans, right, are really tested in real life conditions. How you maneuver yourself, how you realign yourself, your business, is something that it's something that we as entrepreneurs have to, because like mentioned before, a lot are at stake for entrepreneurs because we are stakeholders. But to be honest, I'm really just waiting for being able to get back to work, and see and take it as it comes. As much planning as we can do. Nothing beats real life situations anyway,
Yeah, and like everybody has plans. We all got plans for whatever it may be. We have plans for what we want to buy at the grocery store, So we have plans. Is just what we do generally as human beings. And when I think I know this is not so much a part of the question, but going back to what we mentioned earlier is when you come up with a plan, what's more important is not the plan, is your ability to pull the trigger on the plan. From there, even if let's say your plan is based on these circumstances, it will work in these circumstances, right? And let's say you're given the exact circumstances, I guarantee you when you pull the trigger on that plan, the plan will change. Nothing is like set in stone, So yeah, we have a plan. All of us do have a plan. How we pull that trigger, when we pull that trigger, that's all depends on the circumstances that the business experiences.
Also, just a quick one. When it comes to planning, right, you must try build in contingency, right? You've got to be able to have contingency on the unexpected, so that to have a partner not being able to be expected, what do you do in that respect? You're already so at this moment that you are really just get off the ground running, and then of course there's only so much you can do, only so much you foresee when you're simulating a plan, but building in contingency allow you to be more fluid and ultimately being able to be more effective in implementing your plan.
All right. Okay. So I think that's all the questions that I got from the participants. If there are not any other questions, thank you so much, FowlBoys and Adi Aida. I'm passing back the floor to Aizo.
All right. So thank you. All right. So we have a fundraiser alert. Can we ask again Joe and Shaq to explain what this fundraiser is all about from the FowlBoys? Yeah. Sorry.
Your mic is mute.
Yes, okay, sorry. So yeah, basically it's an initiative by a friend of ours who runs this streetwear brand called Against Lab, and he got in touch with us a couple of weeks ago to tell us about this initiative, where he wants to sell this T-shirt and cap, and 100% of the proceeds will go towards food banks. But in addition to that, he also asked us if we're willing to open up a food bank to service any area, either Mount Kiara or Mutiara Damansara, where we have a friend's cafe over there. So immediately that same day, we decided to set up a food bank at H Coffee Roasters in Mutiara Damansara. Just because we thought we might as well get it up and running first. And yeah, whatever proceeds that are raised through the sales of this T-shirt and cap will go towards our food bank and other food banks that have been set up in the Klang Valley and Penang.
Good job, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So everyone, if you want to support, make sure to pre-order your the shirt and cap at againstlab.com. All right, so that's all from us today. So thank you so much to all the speakers that are willing to spend their time during the weekend to share their experiences with us. All right, so okay, so for the participants, I would like to invite you to stay back for a while because we will be handing out the e-certificate QR code for you guys to scan and the link as well. But we will have a short photography session. All right, okay, let me just stop presenting.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Again, 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
You guys take
Thank you
care.
so much for joining us.
Thank you,
All right,
Josh
so-
and Adi, for joining us as guest speakers. All your insights and like experiences sharing with us. It was honestly so much. Like it also in a way nurtures us within this 2-hour period as an individual, not just as like aspiring entrepreneurs, but us as a being as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
We really appreciate